إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. To proceed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. That Allah, He wants for you ease and He does not want for you hardship. وما جعل الله عليكم في الدين من حرج. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did not make any hardship in the deen. So we understand from these ayat that every command, amr, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, we are capable of doing it. And every prohibition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to refrain from, we are capable of refraining from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're refraining from the sin for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no excuse because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is our creator and He knows what is best for us. And He knows what we are capable of. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never put a burden on a person that they cannot bear. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما أتاها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not require somebody to do more than they are capable of doing. So Allah has stated in قوله الحق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us and His words are always the truth. That we are never tried or have a burden upon us more than we can bear. So any ibadah, any worship, any command, we are capable of doing it. And any prohibition, we are capable of staying away from it. The whole purpose of our life is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That Allah said, we did not create the jinn or the ins and the jinn, the humans and the jinn, except that they should worship me. And you cannot fulfill worship except by fulfilling the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and staying away from His prohibitions along with tawheed. Tawheed, the oneness, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believing in His oneness, is not established except from fulfilling what He has commanded us and staying away from what He has prohibited. Shaitan, he knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had tawheed. He said, إِنِّي أَخَافُ اللَّهِ. Even he had the affairs, the tawheed of the heart. He said, I fear Allah. However, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to make sujood, he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that one mistake, he was removed from Jannah and put in the hellfire forever. Because he did not fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as a Muslim, we are supposed to worship Allah. That is the focal point of our life. That is the main purpose of our creation. And if we forget that purpose, then من أعرض عن ذكري فإن له معيشة ضنكا ونحشره يوم القيامة أعمى قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. Whoever leaves this purpose of life of worship, Allah says he will have a miserable life, معيشة ضنكا, and he will be resurrected blind. And when he is resurrected blind, he will say, why am I blind and I used to see? And Allah said, like that, my ayat, my signs, my verses, my commands came to you and you forgot about them, you rejected them. And today you will be forgotten about and thrown into the hellfire. So fulfilling our duties wherever we are. اتقوا الله حيثما كنت. The Prophet ﷺ said, fear Allah wherever you are. Have taqwa of Allah wherever you are. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said, إِنَّ أَرْضِ وَاسِعَ فَإِيَّايَ فَأَعْبُدُونَ. That my earth is expansive, so worship me. And subhanAllah, right after that, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul shall have a taste of death. So it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us In a way, the scholars say that if you're not able to worship Allah where you are, go to a place where you're able to worship Allah. If you cannot worship Allah in the family that you're in, go away before the death comes to you. فَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيكَ الْيَقِينَ. Worship Allah, your Lord, until death comes upon you, until certainty comes to you. That is our duty that we have to fulfill. From the morning until the evening, in America or in our countries, we have to fulfill the duty of ibadah, worshipping Allah, no matter what the situation is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وَسَعَهَا. He doesn't put a burden on us that we cannot do. The salat, it was made originally to pray 50 times a day. Can you imagine if we had to pray 50 times a day, how it would be? Some people have trouble with 5, subhanAllah. But Allah in His rahmah and His mercy, He reduced it from 50 to 5. Only 5 times a day. And the maximum, maybe each one is like 10 minutes, right? Let's say total 1 hour a day and 23 hours for you to do as you will, subhanAllah. And even in His mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He counts the deeds 10 to 70 to 700 to who knows how many times more than they are worth. Allah multiplies your ahsanat. And He only counts your sayyat as 1. So He says, as the scholars say, what will be the one whose ones beat his tens? Right? If Allah is giving you 10 for every single good deed, 10 plus or 700 or more for every one good deed you do, and He only counts your sins as once, what a loser is the one who has sins outweighing his hasanat. So when we have this mission in our life that we are here to worship Allah, and that's the focal point, we start building our lives around ibadah as opposed to building the ibadah around our lives. And Allah is so merciful to us that He, like I said, multiplies our deeds. He only gives us 5 fard that we have to do during the day. And even the faraid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy. If you're late, for example, you delay the asr until right before maghrib, before the shams, the sun goes down, and you prayed 1 rak'ah, and the last 3 are late, He will count it as if you did it on time. Those 4 will be counted. If you pray fajr right before the sun comes up, 1 rak'ah, and you missed the 2nd rak'ah, Allah will count it as you did the whole thing on time. Because it's mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mercy. He wants for us ease. I'm not saying we should ever delay it like that, but just look how Allah is merciful. If you come to the jama'ah and you find that they are in ruku' and you make the ruku', Allah will count it as you made the whole rak'ah. Look at the chances and the mercy He gives to us. And yet we still fall short. The purpose of a Muslim, like I said, is ibadah wherever you are. I was reading in the seerah of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala that, his whole life, subhanAllah, he tried to حقق العبودية لله, like establishing this type of servitude to Allah, worshipping of Allah. He was struggling. There were so many problems going on in the Muslim ummah. From the enemies without, he was fighting against them. And the enemies within, there was people of so much deviation, and he was writing against them, arguing against them, correcting their beliefs, establishing it. And for this reason, he was put in the sijn, in the prison. But even in the prison, he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, it is said that he found the prisoners playing games and like wasting their time in idle talk and gossip and joking and all this thing, and he was very angry. And he started giving them da'wah and telling them, this is not what you're created for. You have an opportunity now, you're in prison, use your time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you wisely. And little by little, the prisoners started to attend his halaqas in the prison. And to the point that even some of them, they started like loving the halaqat, that when they were due for the release date, they said, we don't want to leave, we want to stay here and learn from the shaykh. And some of those prisoners became some great scholars of Islam. Look how Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala used his time wisely. And then, because he was having such a good effect, subhanAllah, even the leaders, they wanted to isolate him. And they put him in solitary confinement, where nobody can get to him, and he's alone. And what happened? He wrote the fatwa, 33 volumes of Islamic jurisprudence and aqidah and tazkiyah and all these things you can imagine. 33 volumes. Many of us who are students of knowledge or studied, they have this fatwa Ibn Taymiyyah. Look how big it is. Can you imagine that? He didn't let the situation stop him from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made use of his time. How about us who have so much free time in our hands and we can't even fulfill the most basic of obligations? And the sad thing is, we find in this time period, after Ramadan, that people worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much in Ramadan, right? Doing the siyam and the fara'id and the qiyam and the sadaqah, right? And tahajjud and qira'at al-Qur'an. So many good deeds, they're doing it. And then, subhanAllah, some, even before the end of Ramadan, late at Sab'a Ashrin, that night of Qadr that they think, and then the next day, 28, you see the masajid starts decreasing the numbers of people coming to pray. Not even Ramadan is complete, they stop. And then after Ramadan, subhanAllah, people, they basically forget all these extra good deeds until the next Ramadan. They don't read Qur'an again, they don't pray Qiyam again until next Ramadan. Why is it we are like this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is the most merciful to us and gives us so much? So many chances, so many rewards, so many blessings. In Ubudiyyah, worshipping Allah, we have some people who worship Allah out of fear only, because they fear they go to the hellfire. And there's others that worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of hope only, meaning that they want Jannah, right? And there's others who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of love, and this is the highest level of ibadah. You worship Allah because He deserves to be worshipped, and you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all your heart. And you combine all of these three things, like the scholars Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, like a bird. You have the wing, one wing of fear, one wing of hope, and the head is the love, leading you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're missing those components, then you are not having complete worship. But if we really love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why would we only worship Him in Ramadan and then forget Him for the rest of the year? He is Hayyul Qayyum. He is always there. He is always established. He is always taking account. Not just in Ramadan, but every month of the year, every day of the year. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made worshipping Him easy for us. And He does not need anything from us. Every single thing that Allah has commanded is for our own benefit. And every single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited is harm to us, is harmful to us. He does not need us, we need Him. The salat, like I said, only 5 times a day, 1 hour maximum, out of how many hours? Zakat, 2.5% of your wealth. Meaning 97.5 or whatever the math is for you to do as you please in halal. Ramadan, fasting only 1 month of the year. Right? Allah doesn't want hardship for us, He wants ease for us. But why don't we, fulfill what we are supposed to do, at least the basic obligations? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in a hadith Qudsi, مَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. That my servant doesn't get close to me with something more beloved to me than what I have made obligatory upon him. So fulfilling our basic obligations is a must for us. There are some people, subhanAllah, who only pray during Ramadan. And this is extremely sinful, right? If you're not fulfilling your obligations, then you are on the verge of kufr, disbelief, going to the hellfire forever. وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. And now my servant continues to grow closer to me with the nawafil, the extra good deeds upon the faraid, more upon the obligations. You do the extra good deeds until Allah loves you. You earn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, He protects you. So you only see that which is pleasing to Allah. And you only listen to that which is pleasing to Allah. And you only go forward to that which is good, pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? This is the bounties of the awliya of Allah. When you get closer to Allah by fulfilling your obligations and then building upon that with the nawafil, the extra good deeds. And just remember also, even with all of our good deeds, if we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the day we are born to the day we die, it is nothing compared to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our beloved Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا يدخل أحدكم إلى الجنة بعمله. That none of you will enter into Jannah with their deeds. They said, وَلَا أَنْتَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Even you, O Messenger of Allah? He said, وَلَا أَنْ إِلَّا إِنْ تَغَمَّدِنَ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَتِهِ. Even me, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't cover me with His mercy. And there's a hadith related by Imam al-Hakim fil Mustadrak. There's some weakness according to some scholars, but the meaning is correct according to this hadith. There was a person, and this is related by the children of Israel, who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 600 years. He was on an island and he basically devoted his life to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah provided him and gave him sustenance, and he had to not worry about anything except worshiping. And then he made dua to Allah as he got old in age and said, "Oh Allah, take me while I'm in sujood to you." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua and took him while he was making sujood. So his whole life in ibadah. And then he was commanded to the angels to say, "Enter him into my Jannah with my mercy." And then he said, "Wa'amari, what about my actions, my worship? I worshipped you for 600 years. Will I get credit for that?" So it was like the hadith is longer, I'm summarizing it, but basically a discussion. And then he said, okay, Allah Azza wa Jalla agreed to measure his amal, his ibadah, his worship with one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's bounties. So he took the angels and he said to measure on the scale of justice his worship, 600 years of worship, to one of my bounties. And he chose the bounty of eyesight. And that one bounty of eyesight outweighed all of his ibadah, all of his worship. And then Allah said, okay, let him enter into the hellfire because his actions were not even close to the bounties that I bestowed upon him. And then this worshipper said, "Oh Allah, your mercy, rahmatik, rahmatik." And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Was it not for my mercy that I created you from nothing and brought you into something, into existence, into life? Wasn't it for my mercy that I've provided from you from the day you were born until the day you die with sustenance of food and drink and water? Was it not for my mercy that I let you worship me and not fall into sin and protected you from the evil? And it is for my mercy that I will enter into Jannah, O my servant." Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can we be on His earth, eat from His sustenance, benefit from all the bounties He gives to us, and we don't even thank Him enough? The angels, there will be some angels that were created, who knows how many billions of years ago. From the moment of their creation until Allah Azza wa Jalla orders for the trumpet to be blown, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they are in sujood, making tasbih to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the trumpet is blown, they will arise and they will say, "Ma abadnaka haqqa ibadatik," that we did not worship you as you deserve to be worshipped to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine sujood for billions of years, tasbih, tahmeed, tahleel, no sins. يفعلون ما يؤمرون به, right? لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم به. They don't disobey Allah at all. And they were doing only what Allah commands and worshipping Allah. And they will say, after all that years, who knows how many billions of years, we did not worship you as you truly deserve to be worshipped. What about us? All of our bounties, all of our gifts, our health, our families, living in peace, having our food and shelter, a home over our head. Can we not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we are commanded to do so? Can't we stay away from the haram that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited? Even though we know 100% that any act of worship or command is for our own benefit, and any act of prohibition that we're staying away from is for our own benefit. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be of those who worship Him as He deserves to be worshipped. Jazakumullah khair. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. As I said, it's very sad that some of us, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much in Ramadan and then forget about Him from the rest of the year. Or we don't worship Him as much. You don't know if you'll make it to another Ramadan. You don't even know if you'll make it to another day. So take advantage of your time and worship Allah before it's too late. Every single second you have of your life is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, every second that has passed is part of your life going away. How many of us now, we're getting up in age. We remember when we were little kids playing, oh, I wish I can be old enough to drive a car. We get the car. I wish I could be old enough to go to college. I wish I could be old enough to travel, to get married, etc., etc. And look how much time has passed, and subhanAllah, what have we accomplished in terms of ibadah? In Ramadan, we used to do the siyam. It doesn't mean that we only have to fast in Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ has told us many different ways or many different days of fasting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put barakah and blessings in it. You have, for example, you can do now in Shawwal, the 6 days of Shawwal. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever fasts Ramadan and follows it with 6 days in Shawwal, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive, or basically like, it's as if he fasted the whole year or the whole lifetime in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. You also have, on a weekly basis, the Mondays or the Thursdays, or both if you're able to do so. You have the day of Arafah. You have, the Ashura, right? So many chances throughout the year we can continue the fasting. We don't have to fast only in Ramadan. And fasting, subhanAllah, is very beneficial for you spiritually and physically, right? It helps you to kind of give you a break from the material and focus on the spiritual, so you can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the point of fasting. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, right? We're supposed to achieve taqwa. If you're always indulging and eating and overeating or sleeping and dunya, it gives you very little time to focus on what's the most important thing for you, which is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So take a break from it. Give your body a break. Give your heart a break. Give your soul a break. Fast. We used to do qiyam in Ramadan. Doesn't mean we have to stop qiyam. We should, this is something that Prophet ﷺ did every single day of his life, even in traveling, right? And he would pray half the night or more. We can pray at least a small portion of the night. It also adds to our taqwa and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ نَاشِيَةَ اللَّيْلِ أَشَدُّ وَطْءً وَأَقْوَى مَقِيلًا, right? It's a very special time in the night that you're alone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying to Him, worshiping Him, asking Him. He comes down at the end of the night and asks, is there anybody who wants something that I can give to him? Anybody seeking forgiveness so I can forgive him? Anybody has some type of desire that I can fulfill for him? Every single night Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us this opportunity. And if you can't get up the last third of the night, at least any time after Isha until Fajr you can pray Qiyam al-Layl, right? So if you're not able to get up early, at least pray the first part of the night and make it a habit. Qur'an, many people, they finish the whole Qur'an in Ramadan and they don't open the book again until next Ramadan. This is not what the Qur'an was meant. It's meant for every single day of our life. This is the most beautiful book on the face of the earth. It is the only book left where Allah's words are preserved in it. And you have it in front of you. A guidance for your life. It tells you what has passed. That's most important. Lessons from the past. It tells you what's going to come in the future, how to prepare yourself for that event. Right? It's something that should be part of our daily lives to improve our character and be as the Prophet ﷺ said, as Aisha said about the Prophet ﷺ, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His character was the Qur'an. How can you have the character of the Qur'an if you only pick it up once a year? Many people, they put it up on their mantle place and put it in a special container and mashallah, it's a Qur'an, they kiss it, they look at it, they don't even read it. It's حُجَّةً لَكَ عَلَيْكَ لَا لَكَ, right? That's a proof against you, not for you. The Qur'an is meant to be pondered upon, to be acted upon. And you can't do that without reading it. Sadaqah. People are so generous in Ramadan, they give their zakat, they give extra sadaqah, and then they stop. You can do sadaqah every single day. It doesn't have to only be financial. Any helping a person is sadaqah. Smiling in the face of your brother or sister is sadaqah. Right? Helping somebody, relieve a hardship from somebody is sadaqah. And the Prophet ﷺ told us that every day the sun rises, that you owe a portion of sadaqah for all the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Right? So try to be cognizant of that. If you can give even $1 a day, or you can sponsor an orphan monthly. There's so many orphans in the Muslim Ummah now. Or helping a brother or sister in need. There's so many opportunities for sadaqah. Don't stop just in Ramadan. And then finally, istiqamah. And there's many more things, but for time's sake, basically as you are refraining from sin and focusing on ibadah in Ramadan, this is how Muslims should be throughout. As the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is it that I should do to please Allah and to go into Jannah? He said, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. Say, I believe in Allah and be upright. Stand upright. Meaning staying away from sin and doing what you have to do. as we said in the beginning of the khutbah, that every single person is capable of fulfilling their worship, right? If you're unable to pray standing, Allah has allowed you to pray sitting. If you're unable to pray sitting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed you to pray laying down. Even to the point, as long as you have conscience, you are responsible for salah. So you could be in the hospital, you could do tayammum, and you can pray literally on your bed. Because like I said, the purpose of our life is ibadah. Fasting, if you're traveling, or if you're sick, you can make up the fast. And subhanAllah, even Allah Azza wa Jal in His mercy, if you're traveling, and you used to fast, for example, every Monday or Thursday, or you pray qiyam, every single day, and you're tired and you're traveling, Allah will write for you that reward. So it's important for us to continue to do that throughout the year, because even like if we stop for some reason of sickness or for traveling or something like that, Allah will continue to write that reward for you in His mercy, right? Because it becomes a habit in your life. And it's something that you want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. You'll be so happy Yawm al-Qiyamah when you have all these good deeds as a witness for your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He will lift you up in ranks. Because that is the true competition, right? Everything else is going to go away. All your wealth, all your possessions. Even after some time, your family will forget about you once you're put in the ground. But the only thing that counts is your good deeds. Your good deeds will accompany you in the grave and make it a nice place for you. And then when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll be so happy with Him. But do it before it's too late. Make your niyyah, from now I'm going to make my life as something to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single day I'm going to fulfill my obligations. I'm going to try my best to stay away from any prohibitions, and I'm going to increase in my ibadah. I'm going to make a portion of the day to read the book of Allah. I'm going to make a portion of the night to pray qiyam al-layl. I'm going to make a portion of the week or the month to fast. These are the things that are going to count. Al-baqiyatu salihat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be of those who fulfill His obligations and stay away from His prohibitions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the good of this dunya and the good of the akhirah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغ بها جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا ما لا يخافك فينا ولا يرحمنا. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه ولا تكفروه أقيموا إلى الصلاة يرحمني ورحمكم الله.